Okay, so hi everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another session of Data Masters brought to you by Data Engineering Pilipinas, where we gather the most passionate minds in data to share, build, and inspire. My name is Christine, or Casey for short. I'll be your host and moderator for today. My background, I'm a lead data engineer. I'm based in the UK. I run the data engineering function at Field. I'll introduce our speaker, our very powerful speaker for today. She's a licensed electronics engineer, a data scientist, and a AI ML engineer, and a STEM educator, passionate about building AI-driven solutions for purposeful living. So without further ado, Sandy, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'll be discussing today the personal project I built on e-commerce. Since we only have 1 hour to discuss, let's set expectations so that although we are going to discuss the technical implementation of this project, it will be explained at a very high level. So if you want to deep dive into how it's implemented from infrastructure and how for example, for this setup, how the platforms are set up, shameless plug na rin, you may go through my Medium article wherein I explicitly documented here the step-by-step procedure on how I developed this project. So, yun nga, since medyo mahaba itong or malaki itong project ito, it took me like in a span of 27 days to do, from like 3 to 7 hours a day. Of course, may mix yun. Ihahati ko to into 4 sections in explanation. So first is the introduction, like as to why I did this for 10 minutes, including also the R compose. And then the second part, I'll be discussing the Python scripts that are developed here for around 15 minutes. And then the third part, which is the data modeling using GPT, that will be discussed for another 15 minutes. And then the orchestration will probably just take 5 minutes and the rest for Q&A. Right? So before we go through explaining what this does, what is this project, I want to share why I decided to build this personal project. So I've been freelancing full time for the past 2 years in data science as well as data engineering. And most of the industries I've worked with are in e-commerce and marketing. So I did not choose the industry na pupuntahan ko. It just so happened that those are the opportunities that open up to me. So given that demand, I decided to double down on it. Although I'm more of a generalist professional, I decided to somehow specialize uh, in this industry or yung domain knowledge, kumbaga, especially sa data science and even in data engineering, very important yung domain knowledge. So that's why I decided to create this project is to first is I'll have my own portfolio where I can share to clients. And actually yung inspiration nito is a technical case study I presented to client within 24 hours. So itong part na to was actually yung sinabit ko. Then after that, they contracted me as a consultant. So this is actually parang special kasi yun nga, yun yung first case study ko na tanggap ako for consultants. And then I decided to expand on that. The only difference is they gave me a sample JSON data, and then on my end for this project, I use synthetic data, which we'll discuss further later. So hopefully this can be used as a reference for you in case you encountered a case study similar to this. Maybe you will need to set up something like this, and then actually dalawa na tayo na-encounter ko na parang ganito yung pinaka-develop for the case study. Ibang use case na, iba lang yung. And then the second reason why I did this in relation to the thing that I mentioned about referencing this is I have this advocacy of learning in public, wherein my objective there is to do the opposite of if you're familiar with the phrase work hard in silence and let your noise be your success. Let your success be your noise. No? So, for me, ang goal ko is for my journey to be noisier than my success because for me, yung journey is more relatable. And how do I document my journey? It's through, for the past 3 years, I've been sharing on my social media what I've been learning. And through different platforms, I'm documenting exactly kung paano ko, for example, ano yung mga inaaral ko, and what did I learn from that. And now, nakapag-publish na rin ako in Medium articles and share GitHub repos to share my open source projects so that hindi lang parang gatekeep sa akin yung knowledge, but also it's a way for me to share yung mga natutunan ko for those who want to navigate a career in data. And hopefully, with that advocacy na share ko, ma-inspire din kayo to like share then with the community of what you're learning. And in a way, it is beneficial also for you as well since it will be served as your parang marketing sa sarili mo, personal brand. So it's not enough na parang technical skills na i-build, but you have to show a profile of what you can so that hiring managers will take notice. So yun lang yung opening statement ko. But now, let's go to from why to the what are we building here. So first, we have this script for generating fake data, historic data, which contains customers, products, orders, and review, as well as categories, subcategories, order items, and interactions. So the reason why I decided to use fake data because I want to somehow mimic the realistic data structure that we can find in e-commerce industries. Because when I tried to look from Kaggle, for example, it could be just a table of orders and not the entire data set that contains, for example, customers, products, and for example, another source could be, for example, if you're familiar with another educational platform, may mga sample data set din sila. So it's not for me sufficient to like mimic yung mga available tables and dimensions that I want to work with historic data. So once the historic data is run, it will produce data from, in our case later in the example, it's from January 1 to January 1, 2023 to April 30, 2025. And then the latest script here, or the Python script here, this one generates data, fake data, similar to this, but the only difference is it will generate only the last 30 days. So the idea is meron tayong batch processing na ginagawa this part of the pipeline. And then, after the fake data are generated, then we have this Python script that appends the latest data generated here to the historic data. So I just use a simple business logic here, but in reality, it could be more complicated logic. But for the simplicity of the project, what I did was a common load of yung latest data. Papalitan niya yung, for example, this one is until April 30, 2025. And since ito is last 30 days, papalitan niya yung from April 10 to April 30 ng data na to, plus yung April 30 to May 10 worth of data. So yun lang yung logic na ginagawa ko. And then meron lang siyang similar script here. Very similar lang yung logic, but the difference is it gets the data from yung latest econ na lang. So, and then, i-dump niya doon sa DocDB for dev and then MotherDoc for prod. If you're familiar as well, this is also the version 2 of the project. The initial version of this project actually is Snowflake. Because lately ko lang na-realize na pwede palang ulit-ulitin yung paggawa ng 30-day free trial sa Snowflake. So, at the time, I decided to, na hindi ko pa alam, gumamit ng open source data warehouse. Pero ngayon, I'm back to using just Snowflake. But for this demonstration, yung Snowflake ko kasi, currently I'm building a separate branch on that wherein pinapalitan ko yung data that is being generated here because I am also considering yung mga for insights. Kasi nandito na ako sa part na to ng project wherein I need to like tell a story dun sa synthetic data that generated here. So parang kinoconsider ko doon yung orders, for example, in December, mas malaki because of the holiday season. Pero sa script na papakita ko mamaya, hindi yun yung currently na wino-work on ko, but very simple, ano lang siya, parang random generator of synthetic data. Okay, and yes, so after dumping here sa raw, so ang idea is to do some data modeling using DBT. First is, ika-cast muna natin yung dump. So parang i-force lang natin yung mga data types. And then here, intermediate schema, ina-normalize natin siya, which I'll discuss later. And then here in March, the data model are, I followed dimensional modeling, so aggregated na, so that it will be ready for data. So now that's been discussed, let's go to the Docker Compose file that I used here for containerizing the project. So I decided to Dockerize the yung mga, for example, or yung Postgres and pgadmin is because I want to ensure yung operational reliability and mostly to accelerate the development cycle because building personal projects take a lot of time. And to make it simple, I decided to use Docker. So here we have two services named DB and pgadmin. So si DB, it's gonna be containerized to Postgres container, of which nag-pull tayo ng Postgres official image from Docker Hub. And then here I just set this to always so that the container will always restart automatically if it crashes. And then here we have environment variables here for the Postgres user, which I decided to be root and the password is root para simple. But of course, you can change these to whatever user password you want. And then I named the Postgres DB to be equal-to-source. And then for the ports, I exposed my local port 5433 to the 5432 of the remote machine of where the Postgres image runs. So pwede, ito yung lagi ginagamit for Postgres. Ito, usually, pwede rin siyang 5432, but I'll be using that later for the Airflow setup wherein meron yung Postgres. And then here, I just set this volume up so that the data is still persistent even if the container is removed. And then this network here is actually created externally once when I built up the Airflow with Astro. Later I'll show you how I will run as Airflow with Astro, but baka hindi ko na magpakita kung paano siya na set up, pero madali lang siya. I'll show it here. So, pwedeng sundan nyo na lang to. So, install lang yung Apache Airflow and then just create a, under the directory ng project, create another folder, which in this case is this one, equal Airflow. And then, just set this one up and then Astro Dev init, and then it will automatically set up, given these requirements.txt here. It will automatically set up yung Dockerized Airflow natin. So from that, yung network na nilagay ko dito so that our Postgres container will be able to communicate with the pgadmin container as well as the Airflow container. And then I just set up these volumes here to make sure that the data persists even if the containers are removed. And then this one, the name of the network, we just set this to true so that it just takes note that this was created externally in Astro. Right. So that is the Docker part here with the setting of a pgadmin container as well as the Postgres container. Okay. And then now let's go to the first script that we have here, which is this one. Just to give a heads up, in reality, in real world, walang data professional ang may responsibility for this, no, yung itong part na to. So it's okay if you want to skip this part, but if you want to, for example, work on a personal project using synthetic data, feel free to study this code din. So, kasi in real world, bibigay sa'yo yung data. Hindi ka naman mag-generate ng mga fake data. So, this is explanation that I have here is just how I generated the fake data that I can use for my personal project. And maybe you can use it later on kung wala kayong, for example, naisip na data set na magamit and gusto nyo hindi yung galing sa Kaggle. But one advice din, maganda kumuha ng data from peers. But in my case, ito yung objective goal for my portfolio. So I decided to use Faker package to generate my fake realistic data. So here we have imported all the packages that will be used for this script. And then I load the .env file. Hindi ako nakapag-ready ng sample ENV file, but I will not be able to open this because it contains sensitive credentials for my AWS. Siguro sa ano na lang, may GitHub repo rin ito, so doon possible naglagay ang sample ENV file. So we have a class here called e-commerce data generator, for which its constructor is set up to define the date range for, in this case, in this example, it's from January 1, 2023 to April 30, 2025. So it's 2 years worth of data. And then, yan, customizable yan. Pinalitan ko lang din yan recently since I'm going to speak. So, yun yung maganda sa pag-generate ng synthetic data. You can customize it according to your needs. Kumpara if, for example, kukuha ka lang sa Kaggle. Okay? So, we also have instantiated here a Faker instance for generating realistic names, for example, ng company, ng customers, ng product names later. And then I just set the random seed to 42, and the reason why is we want this to be reproducible. Pag sinabing reproducible, if I generate now a data from this start date to this end date, and I will generate again tomorrow, given the same start and end date, the same exact data will be produced. Okay, and then here we just have a review template, which we will use later for giving a review, because my idea here actually, dun sa branch na dine-develop ko for the Snowflake project, mas parang complicated to because I want to do some LLM engineering project later on dun sa latter phases of this project. But for now, it's just like parang dito lang mamimili randomly yung generator natin. For example, great product type. Itong product type na to will be generated by the Faker function, and then it will be randomly yung code later. Mamimili siya dito. For example, great product X, excellent build quality. So, ganun lang. Paulit-ulit lang siya dito. Or randomly, dun lang siya mamimili. Okay. And then, so here we have this generate product categories, of which it has 5 categories and each has 5 subcategories. So what this function does is it returns 2 data frames, category, and then also a subcategory wherein yung 2 data frames establish yung relationship nila, between category ID. Because later on, this category ID will be a foreign key to the subcategory ID. And if we want to, for example, look at the sample data generated by this one, so categories is this one, nagka-count lang siya from 1 to 5. And then yung subcategories is yun, from 1 to 5, as you can see here, multiplied down by 100 plus yung sabay para mas madali, hindi siya pareho ng key actually ng category. So, yun yung na-generate na data from this function. And then here we have generate products. which creates a catalog of by default 1,000 items. So this can be changed if you want more data. And then each product gets assigned to a category and subcategory. And then nag-generate din to ng other attributes like name, price, stock. So pag kita niyo yung pag-generate ng product name, it uses yung fake company. And yung, for example, description, just fake text. So it's through the faker package that was able to produce fake data for the product. And then, for example, here in stock quantity, ano lang siya, random number from 0 to 1,000. Ito, uniform distribution from 0.1 to 20 kilograms. So, kung sinabing uniform distribution, equally distributed from, for example, 1 kilogram, 2 kilograms, yung mga weight ng products na binibenta. So, ako lang namili ng mga numbers na yan. Kasi, for example, parang realistic 20 kilograms. Pero kung 100 kilograms na, parang hindi na siya realistic sa product. So, some of those, yun yung mga parang dapat i-consider when generating fake data. Kailangan align mo somehow to reality. Okay. And then next is we have here the generate customers. By default, it also creates 1,000 customer profiles. And then here, may normal, I define the variable called age, ang normal distribution niya. Normal distribution yung ginamit ko dito for a mean of 45 and a standard deviation of 15. No, kasi mas bagay siya, applicable siya sa age. Ibig sabihin, yung mean, yung age will be around 15. 68% na ma-generate na data is from 30 years old to 45 plus 15 is 60. So, but if, if 2 standard deviation na, ang lalabas na doon, parang 95% na is from aged 15 to 75. So, medyo realistic na sa mga possible customers. So, yun lang yung parang mga dapat i-consider when generating fake data. And then yung sign-up date, of course, should be more than yung start date. Kasi hindi naman posible na yung customer started mag-sign up even before nag-start mag-sell yung product. And then here, just additional demographic attributes. Actually, dun sa another branch na kinecreate ko, ino-consider din, for example, yung kapag Gen Z siya, malaki yung chance na ang naka-label sa kanya is mobile app. Then kapag kunyari, boomer, for example, or young boomer, ang mas mataas yung probability na yung random choice is labeled na preferred channel display. So, yun yung mga parang kino-consider ko para pagdating sa exploratory data analysis or dun sa, kunyari sa Power BI, magkakaroon ka ng story to tell. Pero dito, yun yung mahirap sa synthetic data, pero bagay siya for data engineering projects. Because you can create yung mga fake data, pero wala kang story na mag-tell because randomly generated. So, yun lang yung pros and cons. Okay. And then here we have generate orders. Dito, kinonsider ko lang na if the income is higher, then there is a more chance of ordering more. But in reality, of course, we cannot say that. Hindi naman lahat ng mataas ang factor or income will have more orders. So, and then here, I just ensured that the order date is within the date range kasi imposible naman na may order before sign-up date. And then here, I just decided with this logic, but in reality, of course, hindi naman pag sinabing kunyari, more than 7 days is delivered na agad. For the simplicity of the project, I just choose na yun yung maging logic niya. And then yung shipping cost from 5 to 20, in dollars yung nato yung perspective kasi US yung ginamit ko parang country na dinagyan. And then, pero in reality, di ba dapat ang shipping cost is dependent to distance. So, something that you need to consider if you want it to be more realistic. Okay. And then, here, for every order, or for every product, dapat meron tayong order ID. Itong total amount pala, sorry. It just depends on the shipping cost plus magde-depend siya sa quantity randomly generated lang din. For example, hanggang 1 to 3 lang yung pwedeng i-order dito sa ano. Pero pwede natin palitan to. And then, multiply lang yung quantity times price, and then kunin yung item total, and then i-add yung shipping cost plus item total to be the total. And then yung mga data na obtained from that will be used for order items, and then yung mga related for order items. Ito mga chinuse ko to na dimensions, ano na lang to, nag-base na lang to sa parang domain knowledge. Sometimes, yun nga, para for you to decide yung mga fields na gagamitin, medyo parang magbe-base ka na lang din sa parang experience. And ito yung mga order ID nito was ordered by customer ID something. And given order date and other attributes are considered as well. And then here we have generate customer interactions. So it creates interaction events for each customer na pwedeng mag-view, mag-add to cart, mag-remove to cart wishlist. But dun sa another branch na din-develop ko, so may mga probability pa yan na para makita yung funnel. So mag-start ka sa view, marami yung view, and then ano siya, funnel siya na after, una muna pala search, and then view, mababawasan yung mga nag-view, konti na lang yung mag-add to cart, then konti na lang yung mag-buy. Ito randomly chosen lang. Kaya yung numbers nito parang yung magpo-produce na numbers nito hindi realistic na, baka mas mababa yung view then mas mataas yung purchase. Pero in reality, hindi pwede yun. Dapat mas mataas lagi yung, for example, yung search. Kasi yun yung una-una. Search muna si customer, yun yung customer journey. Search, and then bababa yung numbers to views, bababa yung numbers to add to cart, and then mas maliit na yung converted rate sa purchase. And then here yung function for generate review text. It uses the template that we had set earlier, which I discussed first sa taas ng script. So it depends on the rating. If more than 4, it will use the positive templates and the positive aspects. Pag 3, then neutral, and then less than that will be negative. So, ensure muna natin na merong review count, and if may review count na column, and then wala naman is set to 0. And then for ensuring yung data type ng review count. And then from that review count, doon na i-base yung magiging reviews nun. Okay, so here we just decided to have 80% probability of the purchases being reviewed, pero mataas pa nga to eh. Siguro in reality, out of all the number of people who order, sometimes 20% lang. Pero optimistic tayo, tsaka para maraming data, hindi na ma-confirm. So, ayun, yun lang yung kagandahan nga ng synthetic data. Pwede mong iset na parang marami kang data. Okay, and some other attributes as well. Hindi ko na discuss siguro yung lahat talaga. And then, here we have yung mga utility functions. This can be packaged into another script, pero I decided simple lang yung files ko. Ito is for formatting yung mga datetime objects, and then this one is for converting data frame to JSON. And then the reason why I decided to have some of the data frames converted to JSON and others are converted to CSV, and ito rin yung mga reasoning ko bakit sila yung JSON to CSV, is I want to mimic the idea that they come from APIs. Because usually when we extract data from APIs, they are in JSON format. So for example, from Shopify, you extract data from Shopify, usually in JSON format siya. Or for example, if for marketing, di ba kasi usually attach yung dalawang yan, yung e-commerce and marketing. For example, yung mga APIs, for example, for Google Ads, SA360, they are in JSON format. So, para lang mamimik yung idea na, because I'm not extracting from API, but I want to still somehow have a data engineering project that mimics real-life structures of data. And then this is the part where you actually invoke the functions defined at the top. And here is just like a data dictionary of the tables and the DF return, or the data frame return. And then here is another, or the second class that I have here, wherein these are the following parameters: the S3 credentials as well as the Postgres credentials. I just set up yung S3 client dito, and then yung nag-start lang ako ng connection to Postgres. And then yung lahat ng JSON data, I decided na i-dump sila sa S3. And then lahat ng CSV, i-dump sila or load sila to Postgres. The reason why, again, I just want to mimic yung meron kang multiple data sources. Kasi usually ganun naman ang ginagawa, di ba, in real world. Marami kang sources, hindi lang isa. So, pwede ka naman padaliin sana yung buhay ko na lahat yan, kunyari, CSV file na lang dito local. Pwede naman din yun. But yun, I want to practice in setting up from, example, Postgres, pag-set up ng IAM user, to creating a bucket, yun. So, additional skills yun to be built from this project. And then, this function here is the one that will be invoked to actually do the actual loading. So, dito na, sinet up yung mga connection details, na-create na tayo ng instance ng e-commerce data loader, wherein pinasin natin yung mga arguments of the AWS credentials obtained from the environment variables. And then here we defined yung mga tables na pupunta sa S3 and yung mga tables na pupunta sa Postgres. So, ayan yun. Sa for loop na to, dito yun mag-run siya from here. Okay, if customers, it will be uploaded to S3, and then if, for example, subcategories will be uploaded to Postgres. And then, since I want a local copy, nag-create ng din ako ng ganito, generated historic data. Kasi mas madali siya for QA. So, makikita ko kaagad dito since I also save the copy locally. And then, here's the main part wherein I just instantiated a generator object from this class, and then just from that object, we have the generate all data method stored yung output to data, and then i-save lang natin yung data wherein doon na madadump yung mga tables to their respective targets. So that's the first script. Hopefully, I still have time. The second script, skip ko tong part na to. The reason why is pareho lang sila talaga ng logic. Ang difference lang is, for this one, 30 days lang yung ano niya. And then, another logic that I have there is, naka-offset yung IDs niya ng 1,000. Kasi nga, ang primary key ko, ang ginawa ko lang is 1 to something, 1 to 1,000 for example. So, para lang ma-offset at hindi pare-pareho yung ID na ma-generate sa recent data, in-ensure ko lang na hindi sila magiging duplicating keys or IDs. So, in-offset ko na siya ng ganito kasi hindi naman tayo mag-generate ng ganito karaming data for the history. So, just offset it, and then doon na mag-start yung counting ng ID. So, and then let's go to the third script, which is the zero ingest. Pag sinabing zero ingest, pag sinabing may prefix na zero, yan yung mga hindi ko orchestrate. And then yung mga walang zero, sila yung orchestrate. So again, packages imported here. And then we have this class of which dito natin initialize yung connections for Postgres and S3. And then define lang natin yung which tables will come from which source. So again, ito na yung list from Postgres, ito yung list for that is coming from S3. And then here, I just created these two for tracking information. So parang ano lang siya, metadata. And then here, initialize Postgres connection, S3 clients, and then yung environment variables, yung name ng historic and latest one. Before I proceed pala, dapat i-demo ko muna. So, i-start natin from the Docker file, Docker Compose. So, we have to ensure that Docker is open. So, ito yung Docker. Sorry, hindi ko nalinis to. Marami akong containers. Although hindi naman may mga nagparang dito na ibang projects. Pero ito yung Docker Compose. And pumunta tayo sa pgadmin. Okay, open ko lang siya dito kasi may mga nakasave ako password and yung email ko. So, ito siya. And then, just to check if we have the data loaded. So, ito yun sila. Then, we can do a select. Ano na lang, simple na lang. For example, select from Intel. And then, i-compare. So, ito yung sa pgadmin kasi yan yung parang interface natin for the Postgres. But we can also access yung Postgres through the console by executing yung Docker exec. So, we can do something with the containers that I have running and then ensure that it's interactive. And then, to make a connection, pangalan mo ito yung database, this one. Ano ba yung master? Nakalimutan ko yung name ng container. Nakalimutan ko rin. Yun. So, and then, just to compare, so, yan yung sa Postgres. And then, click nyo natin. So, narana natin yung Docker Compose. Then, next natin i-demonstrate yung program ng generate history. So, I forgot to mention pala, in software engineering or in data engineering, dapat, for me, pina-follow din dapat yung software engineering principles na medyo usually sa data science hindi masyadong sinusunod eh. Mostly parang more on notebook-based muna nag-i-start. Then saka pa lang applyan ng software engineering principles. So, whenever starting a project, you have to create a virtual environment. So, pag-create ng virtual environment, ganito siya sa Windows. Ganito rin natin pag-sure. But ito yung command. Hindi ko na gagawin kasi meron na. It will create a virtual environment wherein dapat dyan install lahat ng packages. So, ang command for that is pip install requirements txt. So, this is very important sa work because may naging problem ako before. Nag-install ako ng different packages outside of the virtual environment. Sa server, ang nangyari, na-affectahan lahat ng projects. At kapag nangyari yun, possible na if, for example, yung previously developed project na continuously running lang, tapos napalitan mo yung version ng package na ginagamit mo dahil nag-pip install ka outside of the virtual environment, pwedeng masira yung, for example, yung pipeline mo. Kasi ibang, kunyari yung pandas, in lumang version, may ganito siyang function. And then sa bagong version, deprecated na pala. Tapos ginamit yung lumang version ng function do sa lumang project na gumagana pa rin. Eh di possible na maapektuhan yun. So, na-experience ko yun before and may mga nasira akong projects. So, buti na lang each project has their own requirements.txt. So, ang ginawa ko, isa-isa ko lang yung mga projects as pinip-install yung requirements.txt. So, meron naman din akong isang experience na ang ginawa namin to solve is kasi hindi ano yun, SR naman yun. So, more on data science. So, ang problem is hindi ko mapagana yung gumagana dun sa work ko. So, ang ginawa namin, kinopya ko lahat ng package niya. Para isa-isa namin yung possible yung package na kung saan yung error line kasi hindi rin properly done kung saan yung error. So, inisa-isa namin yung possible package and then nirevert ko yung version mo sa yung sa environment ko sa for example sa RStudio ko. So medyo time consuming siya. So very important that you set this up with every time you create. So once that's set up, you just run this activate in macOS or Linux. I think bean scripts. Punta ka sa bean scripts and okay. And then so now we can run zero generate yung unang mga script. So while waiting for that, balik na tayo siguro sa discussion muna dahil medyo matagal yung mag-run. Balik muna tayo sa discussion muna. Generate historic, ingest na tayo. So here, meron lang tayo dito extract function. So basically this is already ETL, para small ETL pipeline. It's nasa isang script na. Although usually ako sa work, separate lagi yung extract, transform, and yung scripts. Ayan, i-run ko lang din yung second. I-run ko lang dito. And then, so ito lang yung function for extracting from Postgres, extracting from S3. Then, pareho lang sila nag-return ng data frame. The difference is from S3, parse niya muna yung JSON. And then, to return ng data frame. And then, we have this get primary keys. Kasi meron lang tayong simple logic here na kapag duplicating yung primary keys, yun yung i-remove lang natin dito sa function na to. Although in reality, there are possible other business logic that you should apply when considering what are duplicates. So you have to define what are duplicates. In this project, for the simplicity of it, I just defined that duplicating data are those with duplicating primary keys. Then here is the transform function wherein it just flattens the JSON into data frame. So ito yung function for flattening of JSON to a data frame. And then just do some simple standard transformation for example for date time and then removing of duplicate primary keys. In-invoke lang dito yung function definer. And then here, ito na yung part na save ng historic data. Ito yun, itong yellow na to. Actually, doon siya dapat. Ito na yung store to historic data. Yung buong, buong appended na data. Containing na yung latest with the historic. So, so yun. And then, meron ako ditong parang utility functions for finding the valid date columns. And then here, nilist ko lang dito yung mga valid date columns. And ang reason for that is yun na yung gagamitin kong logic to identify aling part ng historic data frame yung iti-train ko to append para incrementally load the latest data frame to the historic data frame. So yun yung logic nito. Based lang sa meaning date ng latest data frame. So for example, from April 10 to May 10 yung generated data synthetic data. So ang gagawin niya, iti-train niya yung historic data na from January 1, 2023 to April 30 to only be until April 9. Yun ang ginamit ko for the simplicity of it. Although other logic can be applied to this depending on sa business needs. Pero kunwari sa marketing data, ito yung usual experience nila ginagamit na logic kasi parang it self-heals. For example, yung kinuha kong data kahapon na kunyari meron siyang contained na April 27 data. Iba na yung magiging April 27 data kung ngayon ko siya in-extract. Kasi kunyari, nagkaroon na siya ng, for example, change of status ng orders and kunyari, or number of or pwedeng mayroong debate sa natin. And then, yun, so ito na yung pag-concatenate ng history tsaka latest. And then, nagsisave lang din ako ng local CSV files dito naman sa industry. Okay, so, combine, meron lang siya sa combine kasi kinumbine na yung history tsaka latest. And then, kinukall ko lang yung function defined earlier to save everything. Itong combine na to, mapupunta na siya sa. So, try natin i-run 0 ages. Nakikita natin dito sa, ito na yung combine. So, ito yung kaninang nilalaman natin. Ito yung latest nito. So, May 10, 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. And then, yeah. So, kanina na, kaya ako. So, expecting natin na natin 8. So, unti-unti na nag-upload. So may discussion. Hindi pa. So, ayun yung class na yun. Yung function na yun. And then, dito sa main, i-instantiate na natin yung class to have this object and then run yung application flow. Main function of the application. And then, meron na ako mga login dito to see kung ano na yung progress ng pag-iunin dito. Okay, and then I'm gonna run yung ingest na script. Ang difference again nito is ito meron na siyang pang-load into docdb and other. So, yun lang yung difference na yun. Similar lang naman yung, yung parang kailangan mo, parang sa Postgre yung code mo. Kaya do this parang usual connection to database. So, i-run ko tong this script. So, ito na yun sa diagram. Locally ko pa lang siya hindi pa siya yung na-runs through everything. So, let's see kung sa module na. Ayan, mag-create siya ng module. So, ang ginawa ko is, every time i-run ko yun, dinidelete ko yung ibang schema para ma-demonstrate ko siya na nag-start siya kunyari sa scratch, from scratch and then siya. And then, I did 8 na ba? Yeah, 8, which is this one. Ito yung data model. So, I used DB diagram here to model yung tables created from the fake generator. So, yeah. Yan yung pinaka-reason why I decided to use synthetic data instead of using mixed Kaggle. Kasi usually pag kunwari sa Kaggle, ito lang or ito lang nakita. Kaya natatlo. But ito, meron siya mas customizable siya. You can have customers. Okay, so now let's proceed to data modeling with DBT. So, di ko na rin siguro i-demonstrate yung kung paano sinet up si DBT, pero it just starts with this DBT. So, create lang kayo ng folder. Dito is itong DBT, pero dito sa project na ito, pinag-alala siya DBT. So, create na lang itong folder na to, and then click DBT create. And then enter nyo lang yung mga following values here. And then it will automatically build this folder structure here. Then makakaroon kayo ng mga sample models dito. Dinilit ko na yung mga example by default na generated. And then pinalitan ko siya ng mga models. So yung models dito for staging, actually ako lang nag-design din kung ano yung dapat na ilagay sa staging. Di ba sa Databricks, di ba? Actually, this is just medallion architecture. So ito yung bronze, so ako lang nag-decide kung ano yung gagawin. Medyo parang, ano siya, parang combination of in-mon data model and then in-mon. So, kasi yung sa in-mon data model, yung gagawin niya is ina-normalize niya yung data dun sa data warehouse. Pag sa Kimball, parang diretso, three-dimensional model, multiple star schemas for analytical purposes. But for normalized data, ang purpose niya usually is transactions. So, ginawa ko just to practice. First, I have the staging schema, or of which, ang ano lang dito, model lang dito, simple lang. Ang mukha lang siya ng row, and then finarse ko lang yung data type na tama yung data type nila. So, sinet ko lang yung mga data type. For example, for marital status to be varchar, example data. So, simple as that. Ang medyo mahirap na part is yung intermediate model. So, dito na lang tayo mag-focus, and mag-prepare ako ng example of how I translated from staging to intermediate. And as you can see, this is more than 8 tables. So, parang lumobo yung data model natin. And the reason for that is because I have normalized the staging model to have this data model here. So, ano ibig sabihin ng normalization? So, yung normalization, it's a parang technique na ginagamit. It's a practice in relational databases of which its objective is to remove the redundancy dun sa database and ensure yung referential integrity between multiple tables or between tables. So, for example, ito yung raw data. So, ang kwento ko dito is how I come up from here to here. And na-realize ko, mahirap siya i-explain ng walang usual material. So, I decided to use Excel for that. Okay, so alam ko usually mga data engineers ayaw ng Excel, but I think for the purposes of me being able to like convey yung idea ko, how I translated this to this is through these examples here. So, for example, we have this raw data. Doon dito yung raw data para lang mas maliit basa. Dito pala makikita natin na hindi siya normal. Okay. And also, share ko na rin, meron akong experience na technical interview. Ang tinanong sa akin, what's the difference between 1 and F, 2 and F and 3 and F? Eh ako, hindi ko sa data engineering for me, yung technical terms, masyadong marami. Minsan alam ko lang siya i-practice, pero hindi ko alam yung technical terms. Alam ko siya gawin dito, at alam ko siya na kailangan kong i-translate ito, papunta rito, pero hindi ko alam sino si 1 and F2 and F3. And mula doon, parang tinandaan ko na siya kung ano yung mga rules per normalization, normal form. So, kasi meron akong data architecture project before. Parang hindi namin iniisip kung schema ba siya, anong schema ba siya, anong model ba siya. Hindi namin alam yung mga technical. Basta alam lang namin na kailangan ng mga siya ganito. Wala siyang regalo na data or tables. So, dito pa lang makikita natin na hindi siya normalized. Kasi sa 1 and F, merong rules tayong sinusunod. Ang rule na sinusunod for 1 and F is unique IDs should be, primary keys should be unique. And dito unique naman, so pwedeng sabihin, okay, ano siya, 1 and F. Pero other rules, such as, for example, yung cell must be atomic, yung tinatawag na atomicity. Ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng magkaroon na multiple values. Kasi meron pa mga tables, usually, parang may mga JSON objects pa sa loob or mga arrays pa naman sa loob. So, ito, hindi siya atomic. From this pala, nakikita natin siya na hindi siya normalized. And another rule, mamaya ako na-explain yung another rule. So kapag ganito, there are two solutions na maiisip natin para mawala itong multiple values na to. It could be first is to create separate, di ba sa Excel meron tayo dito function to text to columns. Yan. Pag pinindot nyo yan, tapos pinili nyo kamo, ang gagawin niya, mag-create siya ng ganito. Isi-separate na yan into 3 parts. Kasi may tatlo yung yung pinaka-max dito is tatlo. So, isa-isahin niya yung ganyan. So, meron ka ngayon, _1, _2. Pero, name is product only. So, ito yung isang rule na bawal for 1NF, which is called as, no repeating groups. Kasi ito nagre-repeat kami ng groups. So, hindi pwede yan. Another solution na maiisip natin is to explode the table. So, instead of creating new columns, we now create new rows. So, iPhone 13, same lang. And then, AirPods Pro. And kita nyo na agad na yung problem with this one. Di ba ang goal nga ng normalization is to remove redundancy. Dito pa lang, redundant na masyado yung tables natin. So, and kikita natin dito na yung primary key is not dito. So, the solution to 1NF is to create another table na coming from the row. Okay, so paano, dito na sa data engineering, although parang kumpara sa other data professions like data scientist, parang sila yung mas malapit sa business domain. Right? Pero ito yung part ng data engineering for me na sobrang lapit sa business. Lalo, ako na-experience ko dito, na-experience yung ginapit kami ng 5 hours sa stakeholder meeting. Although ang naman doon, project na data architecture talaga yun. We were building yung tables from business rules and processes without seeing yung data talaga. I mean, wala kaming data. Parang, ito yung rules, ito yung processes, gawan mo siya lang. Mag-propose ka anong tables yung gagawin. So ito, apply na ito ng domain knowledge. Paano natin naisip na dapat may order item? Parang, ayun na nga lang yun eh. You have to communicate with business stakeholders. Ano ba yung, yung mga possible na processes and then paano mo siya store. So, ito, parang isip ko lang, sa domain knowledge na lang na kailangan may order item. Although originally, in our raw schema, wala namang order item. So, I just decided to create a new table for order item. And then, for each order item, ayan, meron siyang katumbas na, meron siyang mga product IDs. And then, sa product ID na yun, yung bawat product ID, meron siyang sarili niyang attributes of yung mga products na binili. And, for example, we want to get the data again dun sa in-order ni John. So, later on, pwede natin i-join lang ito with this one. And then, makukuha natin si order makukuha natin si product. Pag nakuha natin si product, pag ginoin din natin dito, makikita rin natin ano yung mga binili niya. Diba? So, si customer dyan, meron siya order ID na 1001. And then, dito, meron siyang 2 products. Si 1 at si 2, which is itong dalawa. So, yun yung na hati, itong raw data na to, ito, 3 tables. So, medyo mahirap, for me, mahirap siya intindihan first. May mga magandang materials on this, like for example, yung sa AWS Data Engineering Professional Certificate ng Deep Learning at AI to Coursera, which is free through financial aid or may bada tayo 200 pesos, mga ganun. So, maganda yung pagkakadiscuss doon kasi may animation kung paano niya from here naging ganito. So, syempre sa order item ID, ito yung mga niretain mo lang pag-iisipan or pag-decidean mo kung ano yung maiiwan na attributes for each specific table. Okay, so now let's move on to 2NF, wherein ang requirements dito, first it must be 1NF. So, galing na tayo dito, 1NF na yung mga tables natin. And then, the second rule is to remove all partial dependencies. So, what is a partial dependency? It's a subset of yung non-key columns that depend on some columns in the composite key. Ang example dito would be yung customer, for example, si customer John, nakarelay siya sa customer ID, which is a composite key. So that is a function of C. Kasi ang primary key ng table na to should be ito, order ID. Pero meron kang parang extra attributes na hindi naman related sa table na orders, diba? If you imagine a table of orders, you don't necessarily include parang customer attributes in that specific table. So what you're going to do is from here, tatanggalin mo tong mga dependent sa customer, gagawan mo siya ng sarili ng table, which is this one. And then, ang i-retain mo sa order is yung order ID, customer ID, para may foreign key ka pa rin to determine sino yung nag-order na, sino customer. Pero hindi mo na ilalagay yung customer first name. Ang iwan mo na lang yung attributes that will depend only to the primary key, such as order date, and then status ID, payment ID, shipping address ID, and total amount. So, again, this requires a lot of decision making. Yun nga sa example ko before, yung na-experience ko, parang inaabot kami ng 3 to 5 hours kasi nagtatalo kami na kung ano yung mariretain sa isang table. Pero yun nga kasi, it's more of a data architecture and walang data. Wala kami existing data at the time. So, ito, meron naman existing data and with sufficient amount of domain knowledge, makakapag-decide ka naman ano yung pwede mong iwan dito. Okay, and then here we have, yun pa rin yung, wala naman dito na partially dependent. So I think sa order item ID, ito na yung, from here pa lang, yun na yung dapat mo mag-depend only dito. Hindi naman nakadepend yung unit price sa order item. Kasi yung unit price, ano yun eh, per item yan, hindi yan per order. Okay, and ganun din dito, okay na to. And then here, nag-create lang ng additional tables para instead of, ang reasoning is, pag nagbago ito ng status, hindi mo na kailangan mag-create ng panibagong row na nagsabi. For example, itong process ito. Hindi mo na kailangan ulitin ito na may ganito ka, kasi ito naging delivered. So, ang gagawin mo, gagamit ka na lang ng status ID para dito siya mag-refer pag nagbabigay status ng order. Okay, and ganun din sa payment. Okay, and then next is, ito na yung last, 3 and F. Ang rule lang dito is it should follow 2 and F. From 2 and F, we now go to 3 and F. Wherein, kailangan masunod yung all transitive dependencies will be removed. Pag sinabing transitive dependencies, ito naman yung composite key, ito naman na ito yung column na nagde-depend siya sa non-key. Okay, so ang example of that would be, itong category na to, dependent siya sa product name. So, a non-key column being dependent to another non-key column. Yung partial kanina, a non-key column being dependent to composite key. Ito naman, a non-key column being dependent to another non-key column. So, kailangan matanggal natin yan. So, parang, yung term nga namin dyan, binabasag mo yung tables. So, instead na ganito yung product, ang mangyayari sa products table natin, magiging category ID and subcategory ID sila. And then, makakaroon sila ng sarili ng table na primary key is category ID. And yung subcategory ID naman, yun, meron din siyang subcategory ID na primary key naman. So, but established pa rin dito yung relationship between category and yung subcategory. Kaya kung makikita niyo dito, nasa gitna yung subcategories and reach. So, nangyari ito is sa product ID, meron ka, although dito may subcategory ID, dun sa pag-data model ko, hindi ko na in-establish yung relationship na dito. Kasi, pwede naman, pero pinadaan ko na lang siya sa example, itong product na to, ito yung category niya. Kukuha mo yung category niya, makukuha mo pa rin naman yung subcategories mo through this relationship. So, yun lang yung idea ni data models kung paano siya transfer from staging to intermediate. And if we are going to look at yung DBT natin dito, so yung DBT is ano lang din naman yun, SQL lang din naman yun. Ginagamit ang DBT for transforming data inside a data warehouse. And ang difference lang niya from usual SQL commands is merong Jinja template tinatawag. Wherein, for example, pag galing siya sa ecom staging na schema, gagamit siya ng source, and then kapag nasa intermediate lang din yung i-join mo na table, ref naman yung ginagawa. And then ito, shortcut ko na lang to kasi ayoko nang type isa-isa pa to. Kasi sabi 1, 2, 3, ginugroup by mo siya by order ID, customer ID. May 2, and show lang na binig sila. Okay. And then, yung marks, hindi ko na masyado di-discuss yung how I came up with that. More on dimensional modeling na to eh. So, usually yung marks, dyan yung ilalagay yung mga specific to departments. For example, sa department, department. Pero since maliit lang naman itong project na to, ang idea is use case based. Eh, may gusto kong i-build sa Power BI. So, depende sa kung gusto ko build sa Power BI, yung na lang pinag-isipan ko. But basically, you just need to build star schema. So, you have to decide yung mga dimension tables, yung dimension tables, and then yung mga fact tables, which contains yung mga business measures. So, maybe it's up for another discussion kung paano mag-translate from normalized to star schema. And then, so yun, last na, before that, let's run pala yung mga DBT models natin. Meron dito commands for example, pakita ko lang like profiles. Sorry, may question ba? Kasi hindi ko nakikita yung chat. But siguro may ako na lang mabasahin. So, pakita ko muna yung profiles. Ito yung profiles. So, merong 2 profiles. Meron tayong dev environment tsaka prod. So, if you want to, for example, yung sa dev environment, sa DocDB, kasi yung sa DocDB dito niya is create siya ng ganito file yung database. So, we can see, for example, yung data na na-student through this by running this script here. SRC. SRC some equal. This is staging. Sample staging here. Ayan, ecom stage. Wait, you need to go to the DBT. Andito siya. Dito lang. Kailangan pumasok sa CD. Okay. And then, saka ako lalabas to lalabas pa yung processors yung sample from. So ito yung data na stored dun sa dev or dun sa document. But mas gusto ko rin ipakita yung sa mother, no? So ang gagawin ko, i-run ko to pwedeng isa-isa, but I decided to use a makefile na lang para hindi ko lang kailangan isa-isa. So you can use a makefile para if you have multiple commands to run, isang hindi makita yung make. So sa makefile, you can use this file to put all your commands here. So from here, kinopya ko lang yun sa mother. Okay. Itong command na to, it is based from the profiles na pinakita. Profiles yan. So ito yung profile, and then ito yung target. So going back to the makefile, so yun lang yung mga parameters natin. Okay, so these are all prod, staging parts. Ang gagawin ko, instead of me entering this one by one here, gagamitin ko itong makefile para isa run na lang. So I just need to type make and then hit enter, and then it will automatically run everything. So mas mabilis siya. So let's see, punta tayo sa mother. Okay, so we only have raw here. Yung sa Snowflake, maganda pagka ni-refresh nyo, dito lang hindi natin. Okay, at yung i-refresh nyo. Ayan, so may staging na, may staging, staging. Done na, so and to check if the data been loaded, we can run a simple query sa March na kasi yan yung data file. So ayan, mated yung latest order date. Okay, last part, medyo mabilis na lang po. Siguro isang DAG na lang papakita ko. Pero kasi yung isang DAG is may kasama for DBT, integration ng DBT. So, i-start ko na rin yung Airflow kasi medyo matagal siya. Like space. So, pasok lang dun sa I'm using Ubuntu here. Kasi may dependencies. Sa WSL. Yeah. So, Astro Dev Start, by running this, it will run the Docker container for Airflow. And then, so while running, then explain ko muna to. So, again, yung packages na need for Airflow, we have this class deck and then Python operator to define yung task. And then, we have here yung mga packages that we've discussed earlier. Then yung mga nasa SRC pipeline, that process, if you remember earlier. Hindi ko na bubuksan. Pero ito yung process na for the recent e-commerce data generator, yung latest data generator for the 30 days. And then incrementally. So ang idea is parang mag-run ito daily on its own automatically. And then it will generate data. For example, tomorrow, it will generate data from April 11 to May 11, and then the day after that, from April 12 to May 12. And so on. So here, ang ginamit ko dito is yung traditional operators with Airflow, but now meron na tinatawag ng task flow dito. Mas madali na mag-define ng task just by simply putting the task decorator. But for this project, I just want to use the traditional operators. So here, ito yung usual arguments na tino-consider, parameters na tino-consider for setting up yung arguments ng airflow. So, ito na isa-isa rin. You can just refer to the documentation. And then here we just instantiated yung DAG na mag-run daily at midnight. Pinapass in lang natin yung arguments defined here. And then here we have these two functions. I-run natin yung class na to. And then ito yung method nandun sa generate data script and yung pag-save ng data. And ito yung pag-append ng latest to the history. And then here we define the task. Ito yung task ID na pinili ko. Pwede, it can be anything. And then this one, ito yung function that we have defined here. And ito yung defined here. And then, yung pagkakasunod-sunod lang yung DAX mag-run from generate by pages. So now the airflow is ready. You can just click on that. And i-sample run lang natin kasi generate natin. Manual trigger ko na lang siya. Yeah. So, ayan, more on ano lang to, sample demo running. So, medyo matagal mag-run yung mga DAGs kasi daming nangyayari. I've seen scripts medyo mahaba. So, while we're waiting for this to run, I think yun na yung ending ng implementation. Any questions? Nasaan yung chat?
I think there's questions. The first one from Biggie D. Hello.
Personally, I find it hard to do side projects. How do you manage to make time for personal projects while still keeping up with work in life? Also, any tips on staying disciplined and motivated? Okay. I think first is nagkataon yung circumstances ko allowed me to have more time. Kasi currently, more nasa freelance ako, so remote work. So kung hindi ako remote work, like previously, before, bago pa ako mag-shift to tech, mahirap talaga mag-upskill. So, I'm grateful with that. Pero nung time na, may work, ang ginagawa ko, hinahanap yung pinaka-mataas yung energy ko. Lalo kung parang medyo routine na yung work, pwede namang unahin mo yung for example, yung personal goals mo. Kung sakaling, kunyari, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. work mo, tapos ang pinakamataas yung energy mo is around 4 a.m. Edi, gumising ka ng 4 a.m. Kasi ako, for me, mid-shift ako usually. So, ang ginagawa pagkagising ko, diretso agad ako sa computer kasi yun yung peak ng productivity ko. Parang inuuna ko yung mga goals ko. And then, pag sa work, parang mas parang medyo gamay ko. So, ayun hanapin mo lang, parang meron kang, aside from time management, meron din dapat energy management. Hanapin mo yung time na pinaka-productive ka. And then, just schedule accordingly. And then, yung time din na parang hindi ka distracted sa dahil na bagay-bagay. Ano ba ang questions? What about this? In data engineering, always follow software engineering principle. Kasi, although, sa amin, kunyari, isa kong that's what. So, combination pa ng data science and data. Sa data science, importante, deliver data. Minsan, hindi mo na inisip ano yung best practice. Basta ma-deliver mo, makuha mo yung insights na kailangan mo. Yun na yun. And then, during the period na meron kaming research and development opportunity, for example, we don't have client delivery ko, doon kami pumapasok into data engineering, R&D, work-in, saka na namin yung mga parang notebook-based namin scripts, minimodularize namin. So, one example lang, Kasi may mga case study, di ba? May mga case study na okay lang kung naka-notebooks. Pero meron akong na-experience na case study kailangan parang, ano siya, parang software application yung hindi ba? Kailangan, kunyari, kailangan mag-build ka, for example, mag-build environment. Dati ako yung mga AWS credentials ko, didiretso ko na yun sa notebook eh. Pero hindi yung best practice. Dapat ilalagay mo yun sa document file because that is sensitive credentials. Dapat na-share mo, tapos hindi mo pag-init. Usually, yan yung nakakalitan. For example, yung Git nga eh. For me, it's a very important skill for version control. So, dati, yung sa parang first job ko sa data scientist, hindi na kinoconsider mo. Basta magawa namin yung trabaho. Bigay namin yung insights na kailangan kahit walang version control documentation. Kami nang bahala kung hanapin yung mga lumang version ko lang rin hanapin. So, ayun, ano pa ba? Yung mga classes, may mga nakita ko before, tinatanong, kailangan ba alam mo yung OOP sa data engineering? Depende talaga yan sa So, but pagka marami na masyadong repetitive pa, yun, iba po opinion. So, another part yun software engineering. I'm interested sa kung kumuhan ng freelance lines and ano yung tech stack na dito sa freelance industry. Ayan, so since, so yung clients muna, yung main client ko na kung yun sa Pinky, ano lang siya, parang independent contractor setup. And then yung other ones na more inside sa Upwork, combination of Upwork, sometimes si parang cold outreach sa LinkedIn, pero medyo mahirap din. Meron kasi akong sinalihan na tribe community group wherein tinuturuan ko to act as a business. Professional ka, pero you will act as a business to find clients. So, para i-market mo yung services mo, pwedeng productize services. And then, yung unang data engineering client sa Indeed, and parang independent contract din siya. Pero meron din ako sa online jobs page. Yun naman, mas ano siya, parang projects. And then, ano yung tech stack? So, kung nyo ako gayahin or gayahin nyo, hindi ko lang, wala akong tech stack. Kung ano lang yung, I'm a generalist, hindi ko kaya mag-specialist kasi nabubulaw. Pero hindi ko alam if it works for everyone or alam ko, usual na advice ng kaibigan is pili ka lang isa and then once you know one, you can adapt to another. For example, ako more on trained ako sa AWS. And may naging experience din ako Azure. So, medyo na-adapt naman. Pero ang ginagawa, parang learn on the job ako. Although, parang pangit din yun kasi parang ano siya, parang fake it till you make it. Pero hindi naman, ang idea ko naman kasi is more on, may alam na ako, I feel like yung fundamentals ko medyo okay naman. I think medyo confident ako sa fundamentals ko. Mas alam ko yung fundamentals and then yung tech, inaaral ko na lang on the go. Since may experience na, tama naman na mag-focus ka muna sa isa. Then, ma-adapt mo naman din sa ano. Pero ako wala akong, kung ano lang yung sa ginagamit mo, yun na lang din na. Pero pag sa freelance, marami pa lang naka-GCP, I think. Kasi marami sa kanila mga marketing stakeholders, mga marketing agencies. Sanay na sila yung Google Sheets, yung mga easily shareable na tools. And marami sa kanila yung mga dashboard na ginagamit. Hindi nga Power BI or Tableau. Ginagamit nila yung Perl. Kasi bubuksan mo lang yun as simple as like G-Sheets o pinaka-G-Sheets. And then yun, may dashboard kayo. So, sa freelance usually, yung ginagamit nila. And yung mga marketing data kasi marami sa analytics, ads, ano pang question? Siguro another tip dun sa staying disciplined. Kasi parang may strong why ako eh. Meron akong defined goals for me. So, cliche siya pakinggan, pero you need a strong why. And, strong why. Meron akong define, siguro you have to define this. And for me, yung profession ko is, it is the mean to the end. Parang and yun nga, isa sa mga dati ko share, I found my ikigai by following Murder Monkeys. So, dati na, ano lang din ako na-attract lang din ako sa sinasabi sexiest job of the 21st century. Dahil doon, maingganyo lang din ako. Hindi ko naman siya passion right from the start. And then, unti-unti ko na lang siya naging passion kasi parang natututunan ko siya tapos gumagaling ako. Pero kapag wala namang parang lumulungkot kapag gumagaling ka sa isang bagay. So, unti-unti ko siya naging passion. Then, sumunod na lang yung mga goals ko na unti-unti natutunan. So, ganun. You need to have a strong mind. Minsan, kailangan mo lang din konting pa-hype lang. Pero huwag masyadong optimist. Kailangan backupan mo siya ng realistic na efforts. Hindi pwedeng, madali lang to. Ma-achieve ko agad to na sabi 6 digits lang. Hindi gano'n. Yung post na dating ni Sir Rick. Hindi gano'n kadali. Hindi pwedeng mag-resign ka. You have to manage your risk. So, magandang pag-aralan din yung stock trading data. Ganun isang pipeline pwede gawin. So, doon ko natutunan yung risk management. Hindi mo pwedeng basta bitawan lang yung mga bagay. There are a lot of factors na need mo consider bago ka mag-decide. Di pa share naman ng tips sa data ka. Pero after project na, parang mag-mental back. Kahit experience of the di pa pa rin talaga. Ano ba kayo simba sa first data project mo? And any suggestions for a simple project and the tools to use para mag-practice na plan ka rin para hindi po lumabas naman. Talagang daw simulan mo lang. Kasi ako sinimulan, parang dati na rin ako one example, so kinuha ko dati yung Coursera. Kasi gusto ko rin yung data ka, may mga use case specific siyang courses. Yun yung gusto ko sa data ka, kaya may subscription pa rin ako. Pero ang hirap doon is hindi ka makabuild up yun. Kasi dependent ka doon sa tools or sa ID na provider. So, from that, ang gagawin mo, lahat ng natutunan mo, pwede mo lang, pili ka lang doon. Ako kasi yung fundamentals ko mas ginagamit ko yung Coursera. May bawat section, ginagawan ko siya ng project. So, meron doon, simple ETL lang. Parang ginaid lang niya ako, simple ETL. Extract ng CSV. Sobrang simple na transform. And then, iniload lang sa SQLite. So, marami kasi marami akong references. Hindi ako nagre-rely sa isang reference. And then, since marami akong references, napagtatagpi-tagpi ko yung natutunan ko sa DataCamp and then Coursera. Although, ingat lang kasi nga, possible mag-lead to tutorial help. So, pwedeng ang gawin para magsimula sa project is sa YouTube, may mga end-to-end projects. So, doon pwedeng kaya simple load lang to S3. Then, pili ka lang ng data na parang gusto mo, pwedeng mag-start ka lang muna rin sa Kaggle. And then, yung big course, mo lang siya, divide mo lang siya into chunks. Kunyari, sa data ka, pwedeng chapter by chapter mo siya i-divide. So, dapat per chapter, may na-produce kang project. Parang ganun. Or pwedeng sa isang specialization track, may na-produce kang isang project. Or pwede ko yung ChatGPT, can you give me an idea of a project that I can build with these topics? And then, actually ako na-inspire lang talaga, maraming references lang din talaga. Na-inspire lang ako sa mga players. Si Zach Wilson, mga nagpo siya. Ito yung mga projects na pwede mo gawin. May nakita lang din akong curriculum ng mga bootcamp. Ito yung tech stack nila. Tapos may isa ko lang yung tech stack. And then, ito, yung DBT part, yung Snowflake at saka Motherdoc, first time ko lang gamitin sa project ko. So, alam ko lang na pwede silang integrate ng DBT. Pinili ko na lang kasi yung Snowflake for example, wala ko experience sa Snowflake. So, sabi ko, gusto ko lang try yung Snowflake. So, namili na ako. Parang alam ko lang yung mga purpose ng mga tools. Then, from that, doon ako namili. And then, how did you apply LLMs on your data? Dito for this project, hindi pa. So, wala pa ako doon. Nasa, ano pa lang ako. Ayan, nag-random staging. Alam lang din natin yung iba. Sinasabi ko yung questions. Dito, nandito pa lang ako. Actually, dito pa lang yung LLM, pero nandito pa lang ako. Tapos ko lang i-publish itong SQL. Dapat, the next is outbound. Mag-data science pa ako, mag-ML ops pa ako. Kasi wala, personally na-enjoy ko lang siya. And then, yung later on, LLM GPU. Ang iniisip ko, may igawa akong parang very small project lang from a course lang din. Na, given this, hindi ko lang kung review ba yun or text, parang pinipredict na yung case na yun. So, wala pa ako naisip na use case. Pero ang bala ko, magbibuild ako ng route. Pero, yun nga, wala pa akong, hindi ko alam kung saan ko magagaling ng data para yung pag-build. Baka dun lang din sa yung kaya medyo matagal yung progress ng project na to kasi synthetic data eh. So dito pag-isipan ko pa kung paano mag-generate ng maraming text data for the how can you create or have a strong whiteboard? How can you create or have a strong whiteboard? Siguro, alamin mo, kailangan mo ng reflection session, parang gano'n. Ganun kasi ako nag-reflect. End of year. Na alam ko yung gusto ko. Ano ba talaga, parang merong time in my life na parang kailangan, tinanong ko yung, eto lang ba yung buhay? Parang gano'n. Ano bang gagawin ko? Parang ano lang, susundan ko lang yung traditional path na parang magtatrabaho din, mag-retire. Yun lang may gusto ko. Parang dreadful for me idea, no? Siguro, if you don't have a strong why, maybe you have a strong dislike for something. Like ako, ayoko nang forever parang ayoko forever na kailangan kong magdepende sa paycheck to paycheck naman. Ayoko nun. Kahit sana merong ibang ways to generate income para hindi lang ako depende sa majority ng buhay ko, which is the 9 to 5 job. Parang gano'n. So, pwede magkaroon ka ng strong why or strong dislike. Kaya mo mangyari. And then, pag-identify mo yun. So, I believe may strong why ka, kaya ka nandito. May why ka somehow. Gusto mo matuto. So, first step na yun. And then, siguro kailangan mo lang siya i-lista, isulat mo lang siya. Ako, actually, miniro ko yan. Pero hindi ko i-share kasi, sobrang personal. Parang naging journal ko itong Miro board na to. So, maraming templates dito eh. So, ginawa ko, sinulat ko yung big three na gusto ko yun. Dinefine ko yung values ko, dinefine ko yung success ko. Na, hindi ko naman, for me, right now, hindi ko parang dream mga usual na bagay. Parang ayaw kasi matali. So, hindi ka na yung dream ko. Talagang dinefine ko lang. Actually, data science and data analysis and whole define the main objectives and then break them down into more specific objectives and then meron ka dapat metrics na pag na-achieve mo tong metric na to, yun na-achieve mo na yung sub-objective mo. Ganun. So, kung wala kang strong why, baka pwede na strong dislike. And then, yun, opposing way din yun. Magiging strong why. Any questions pa?
Hi, Sandy. I think there's one question from Ray. Hello? Hello. Hello, hello. Test mic.
Alisa, I just want to ask, bakit hindi po orchestration na ginagamit ko sa part ng data ingestion? Merong data ingestion na dalawa yung naka-orchestrate. Yung katumbas na data ingestion, tsaka eto, hindi yung zero ingest, tsaka hindi yung zero generate yung naka-orchestrate. Ang naka-orchestrate is yung pag-generate ng last 30 and yung pag-append ng last 30 sa storage. So, yun yung dalawa ba? Anything else? Stops the reading now. Where can you find, yun, sorry, hindi ko nabasa. Where can you find the article? I-share ko dito yung first one. Share yung group profile. Kasi sa profile ko, meron 3 publications na dun. Try nyo ako dun. So, 3 parts na yun. And I believe about yan actually 7 phases pero may E9 articles na siya. Lumalaki yung scope. Kailangan ko rin i-limit yung scope ko kasi baka hindi pa tapos. How about the DBT implementation? Ano yung question ulit sa DBT implementation? Kung paano siya sinet up na? Balik tayo dito. Nandito sa phase 1 kasi dito ko discuss sa DBT. So, hindi ko na mapapakita yung talagang step by step kasi although pwede naman, set tayo dito yung mag-create ako ng folder, DBT request first. And then, pasok tayo dun sa DBT request. Then, DBT. Yeah. And then, enter a name, test. Yan, susundan lang natin po. Gusto ko sa, for example, Snowflake, DB na lang. Ayun na yun, DBT test. Na-create na yung DBT test dito. Okay. Ayun, models. Ayan, pwede ka na mag-create na. So, ganun lang sineset up. So, mag-create ka na lang ng based na sa data model, from your data, paano mo siya gusto, for example, gusto mo ba siyang i-aggregate na gusto mo lang yung SARS-CoV-1. So, for me, dahil malaki yung mga tables, marami yung tables, kailangan ko gumawa ng ganito. So, from here, dito ko nag-iisip kung paano ko. Kunyari ito, so meron akong staging customers. Paano ko i-build si customer segregation? So, ito, pinag-isipan ko muna to, saka ako select and SQL. And then, i-define mo lang yung, hindi ko pala na-discuss to, pero dito, parang documentation na rin po ito, schema that yan. For example, dito sa direct intermediate, then schema. So, i-define mo dito yung sources mo. which is yung stage, papuntang intermediate, and then ito yung table names na kukunin mo. And then, dito mo i-define yung mga yung name ng table, description ng table, and then yung hindi naman need i-list pa lahat. Pero dito, simple testing lang yung ginawa ko. Kailangan unique, not null, yung location ID. Marami ko pwedeng test dito like relationships, ensure na yung relationship between the tables of customers and which they will is established. So, yun lang, initial setup. And then, babalik kayo dito sa things ka malina. Paano mo siya bumag. At saka bumag. Pag nabumag, for me, pag na-setup mo na to, gawa ka ng ganito, pag nagawa mo na ito, mas madali na lang yung SQL queries na gagawin mo sa inyo. May na-miss ko ba? Tips for anyone starting sa freelancing like as data analyst. Ayun, first create projects para sa and then, ayun, hanapin mo yung clients din sa what is Apple also. And then, write good cover letters, hanap ka ng templates. And then, pwede nga rin, may tinatawag sila yung provider services mo to test. And then, saka kayo, depende sa client mo, saka kayo, i-build ng project from that. Okay, probably kita for this amount of time, this amount of compensation, parang ganun. Or iba-ibang klase ng contract sila, pwede kapag natapos na rin, halfway through the project, babayaran. Parang milestones. Ano ba ba? May questions ka ba?
Hello, hello, test mic. Mic test, mic test. Hello?
Yes.
Hello, rinig ba ako? Hi,
Thank
Sandy.
you everyone for listening.
Hello?
Mandarin audio news.
Hello? Hello? Hello, hello?
Wala.
Hello, hello, hello? Mic test? Hello?
Can we anyone?
Hello? Hello?
Thank you everyone.